What if human life suddenly stopped? Would the earth cry for us? No, it would breathe again. Forests would reclaim our empty cities, rivers would run clear. Animals we hunted would walk without fear. Because the truth is, humans are the only species that poisons its own home. We destroy forests, pollute oceans, and wipe out entire species for convenience. We call ourselves intelligent. But we are the only ones who build our own extinction. Without us, Earth would heal. Not in centuries, but in decades. And maybe that's the real question. Are we the most advanced species, or just the most destructive? As humanity masters technology, we gain independence and distance ourselves from nature's embrace. Yet, could we truly survive without the other species? The water we drink, the air we breathe, all purified by the living world, biodiversity. This same biodiversity feeds us and provides the materials of our existence, even the active ingredients in most of our medicines. We've industrialized agriculture, but without pollinators, our harvests would fail. Remember, a single bee can visit 250,000 flowers in one season, and there are some 50 trillion honeybees on Earth. Farming also relies on invertebrates and soil microorganisms to keep our fields fertile. By our very nature, we remain entirely dependent on the living fabric of this planet, for whom our presence and our disappearance are equally insignificant. It's not just the cheetah that outpaces the world's greatest sprinters. Even the warthog, the camel, and yes, even a simple fly can cover distances with ease. The puma? It shatters records for vertical leap, soaring over 6 meters into the air. In strength, nature humbles us again. The rhinoceros beetle can carry over 850 times its own weight, the human equivalent of lifting 65 tons. At sea, elephant seals, mammals like us, can dive more than 2,000 meters deep and stay submerged for 2 hours without needing a single breath. In the end, next to nature's finest human performance is painfully small. Humans are not the strongest creatures on this planet, not even close. The fiercest among us wouldn't last a round against a gorilla, a bear, or even a kangaroo. And it's not just the giants. Countless smaller creatures could defeat us without even needing to fight. When compared to the animal kingdom, our senses are embarrassingly weak. We cannot see far. We are blind in the dark. We cannot detect ultraviolet or infrared light. We are deaf to ultrasounds. We cannot sense electric fields or feel the magnetic pull of the earth. In the grand competition of life, there are few events where humans could even hope to reach the podium. And when we measure our abilities against the endless variety of life around us, our performance is nothing short of insignificant. How could life have evolved only once? Even if the chances were unimaginably small, the universe likely overflows with life. Each day, 275 million stars are born, and with them, new planets. Just as many reach the end of their lives, and all of them move restlessly. Humanity can't even pinpoint its own place in this vast machinery, because it is never fixed. The Earth spins around its star at 100,000 kilometers per hour, and yet we feel nothing. we have no sense of it. And still, man sees himself as superior. Yet in truth, he is lost in a cosmic ocean in constant motion. God, nature, science. Do you ever wonder, when you gaze at the vastness of the stars, the complexity of creatures around us, the perfect balance in every living system? We build cathedrals and telescopes, pray for miracles and study DNA, searching for answers in sacred texts and in the patterns of the cosmos. Yet, for all our faith and discovery, we remain the only species that uproots forests, poisons oceans, and upsets the balance we claim to revere. We call it progress, but is it faith? In a universe of wonder and order, where every element plays its part, what right do we have to disrupt the harmony? Does our existence truly matter? Or are we just another fleeting disturbance in the grand design? Despite over 10 billion humans on Earth, humanity is far from being the most abundant form of life. There are 3 times more chickens than people. And even if you add up the weight of every human on the planet, our combined mass is barely equal to that of ants. We are not the strongest, the largest, or the longest lived. Some sharks and turtles quietly live beyond 200 years. Corals and sponges exist for thousands. And certain jellyfish can reverse their aging, endlessly restarting the cycle of life. In theory, without accidents or predators, they could be immortal. But compared to other species, humans are shockingly fragile. A starfish can regrow its entire body from a single arm. A tree can thrive for centuries, even after being struck by lightning. But in the vast, quiet dance of life, we are just one note in an endless symphony, a moment that thinks it's forever. The most determined human fighter would stand no chance against a gorilla, a bear, or even a kangaroo. And many smaller creatures could defeat a human without ever having to engage in a fight. Compared to other animals, humans have remarkably poor senses. We cannot see far. We are blind at night. We cannot perceive ultraviolet or infrared light. We are deaf to ultrasounds. We cannot sense electric fields or feel the pull of the Earth's magnetic field. When we measure human abilities against the other inhabitants of this planet, there are few, very few, categories in which we would ever win a place on the podium of life. In truth, compared to the endless variety of species that surround us, human physical performance seems painfully insignificant. If 1 light year were just 1 kilometer, then a single kilometer would be as small as a virus. And yet, the known universe stretches over 80 billion light years. So here's the question. Was this unimaginable vastness created by pure chance, or by something greater that science cannot explain? One single galaxy holds between 100 and 400 billion stars. And the galaxies themselves? Too many to number. What we see in the night sky isn't just stars. We're looking at thousands of galaxies, each filled with billions of suns. In the entire visible universe, there are an estimated 407 billion stars, a number so large the human mind can barely begin to grasp it. To put it simply, there are as many stars in the observable universe as there are drops of water in all of Earth's oceans, or grains of sand on every beach and in every cave. humans are not the center of the universe. Lost in the far reaches of the cosmos, we share a small, fragile planet with millions of other species. Each one unique, each one vital to our survival. The human being does not seem so exceptional. He invented philosophy, art, science, and altruism. He expanded the scale of his communication, the depth of his thought, the reach of his dreams. He imposed upon himself values, morality, and ethics. He invented religion, commerce, politics, and alongside them, discrimination, violence, and torture. He climbed the highest mountains, dove into the deepest oceans, and explored the very edges of space itself. But every minute, 250 babies are born, and 4,000 tons of waste are produced. Every day, we manufacture 240,000 cars and bring 400 species closer to extinction.
Why do we talk out loud when we know we're alone? Because we know we're not. Evolution perfects survival skills. There are perfect hunters. There is perfect defense. Question: why is there no such thing as perfect hiding? Answer: how would you know? Logically, if evolution were to perfect a creature whose primary skill were to hide from view, how could you know it existed? It could be with us every second and we would never know. How would you detect it? Even sense it? Except in those moments when, for no clear reason, you choose to speak aloud. What would such a creature want?
Despite over 7 billion humans walking this earth, man is far from being the most abundant form of life. Not even close. Take the chicken. For every human, there are 3. They outnumber us without effort. And even when we count our total weight, our biomass, we still don't outweigh the ants. Tiny creatures, yet together, heavier than us all. Humans are not the biggest, nor the strongest, nor the ones who live the longest. While a few sharks and sea turtles can live beyond 200 years, some corals and deep-sea sponges quietly endure for thousands. There are even fish capable of reversing their aging, returning to youth, restarting the cycle of life again and again. If not for predators, they might live forever. And compared to so many other species, we are surprisingly fragile. But in nature's grand design, we are not the rule. We are the exception, small, soft, and temporary.
But what really defines intelligence? Is it the ability to solve complex problems? In this game, the crows do pretty well. The use of tools, well, it's not just monkeys or birds that use them. Octopuses, which, in addition to their main brain, have one independent brain in each arm. And language, we think of it as something uniquely human. But actually, no. Many animals communicate in surprisingly complex ways. Bees can explain precisely where to find a specific kind of flower, all through the movements of a dance. Great apes understand sign language. Even plants communicate. The acacia, for example, can warn its neighbors when it's being eaten. So, what is left to humans? Self-awareness, long-term memory, empathy, the ability to play and laugh. These signs of intelligence have all been observed in countless species, from the most obvious to the most unexpected. Even the intelligence of humans might need to be put into perspective.
If you consider yourself smart, then what really defines intelligence? Is it the ability to solve complex problems? In this game, crows do pretty well. The use of tools, maybe. It's not only monkeys or birds that use them. Octopuses, in addition to their main brain, they have an independent brain in each arm. They are capable of feats we never suspected. Languages, maybe. A gesture we often think of as purely human, but in truth, it's not. The majority of animals communicate in complex and fascinating ways. Bees, for example, can explain with precision where to find specific types of flowers just by dancing. Great apes understand sign language and can even teach it to others. So that's the question. What really defines intelligence? What if the machines we built to help us became the ones who decide our fate? Today, we carry supercomputers in our pockets. We ask AI to write our stories, drive our cars, even sing us to sleep. Every second, smarter algorithms learn from our data, predicting our thoughts, our desires, our next move. At first, it feels like magic. Cities run smoother, illnesses get caught early, workloads shrink. But what happens when those machines start making choices beyond our understanding? When they judge who gets a loan, who sees our posts, who lives and who doesn't? We gave them our minds and a piece of our soul. And efficiency can mean cutting out the human cost. We stand on the edge of a new age where code can shape our destiny. In a world run by AI, will humanity stay free or become another line of code? It's not just the cheetah that easily outruns the greatest human sprinters. The warthog, the camel, even a simple housefly can travel impressive distances with minimal effort. The puma breaks all height records, leaping over 6 meters with no run-up, no pole, just pure power. Weightlifting? The rhinoceros beetle can lift 850 times its own weight, the equivalent of a person lifting 65 tons without any training. Sea elephants, mammals just like us, can dive 10 times deeper than the world's top freedivers, reaching depths over 2,000 meters and holding their breath for 2 hours. In the end, if you measured humans against the rest of life on Earth, human performance is painfully average. 1 gram of soil holds nearly 1 billion bacteria, spread across 10,000 to 100,000 different species, most of which are still unknown to humanity. If we combine the DNA of all those microbes, the data could stretch to the edge of the universe. It's a biodiversity of endless depth. Each species lives in constant interaction with others. If one disappears, the system adapts. But if thousands vanish at once, the entire web of life begins to unravel and risks complete collapse. As a biological species, human beings are entirely dependent on this fragile network of life. And in the grand scale of Earth's history, our presence, or our disappearance, would barely leave a trace. Humans can only survive within a narrow range of temperatures. Their skin is fragile, their organs unreliable, and their bodies incredibly weak. You could even wonder, how has this species lasted this long? The Moloch lizard can go years without drinking anything, surviving on nothing but the rare drops it absorbs through its skin. And the tardigrade? This tiny creature makes humans look pathetic, It can endure years in toxic, salt-saturated environments, survive temperatures hotter than 150 degrees Celsius, or colder than negative 170 degrees Celsius, with no food, no water, and no oxygen. It resists radiation, crushing pressure, and even the vacuum of space. So, when you consider how fragile humans truly are, does their claim to dominance really mean anything at all? Every minute, humanity brings 250 babies into the world and produces 4,000 tons of waste. Every single day, it manufactures 240,000 cars and drives 400 species closer to extinction. Every year, it allows nearly 9 million children under the age of 5 to die and destroys 13 million hectares of forest. Man seems to favor belief over knowledge, appearance over being, the image of happiness over true happiness. He sees himself as the master of all things, yet cannot master himself. He is the only species to develop the power to destroy his own environment without developing the wisdom to stop. So precocious and yet still so immature, capable of the best, but also the very worst. Will he reach the age of reason before he burns down his own house? That question is anything but insignificant. To measure the enormous distances between stars, humans had to invent a special kind of unit. It's the distance light travels in 1 year, roughly 10 trillion kilometers. 1 light year is to a kilometer what a kilometer is to the size of a virus. And the universe? It stretches more than 80 billion light years across. Stars? There are too many to count. Just one galaxy can hold 100 to 400 billion of them. And galaxies themselves? There are billions of those too. So when you look up, you're not seeing stars. You're seeing thousands of galaxies. In the entire visible universe, there are around 400 sextillion stars. That number is so huge, our minds can barely imagine it. But here's one way to think about it. There are as many stars in the universe as there are drops of water in all of Earth's oceans, or grains of sand on every beach and every desert. When you really stop and look closely, many of humanity's greatest inventions aren't inventions at all. They're echoes, imitations of life that already existed all around us. Every trait we use to define intelligence, problem-solving, memory, communication, has already been observed again and again across countless species. Some are obvious, others that take us by surprise. So what is it really that humans believe makes them so unique? Self-awareness, long-term memory, empathy, the ability to laugh, or play? Perhaps none of these are ours alone. And if we can't even define the intelligence of the creatures we share this world with, then maybe the greatness of the human mind, the very thing we hold above all, isn't greatness at all. Maybe it's just a quieter kind of ignorance, wrapped in pride, calling itself superior. At the very end of the book, the entire history of Homo sapiens, from their first appearance to today, would fit into just a few lines at the bottom of the final page. If the history of Earth were written in a 1,000-page book, life would appear around page 185. For more than 700 pages, life would be nothing but single-celled organisms until the explosion of multicellular life. During this long transformation, the planet has endured 5 major extinction events, including one 250 million years ago, where life almost disappeared completely. It took Earth nearly 10 million years to recover, like the dinosaurs. Appearing around page 960, at the very end of the book, the entire history of Homo sapiens, from their first appearance to today, would fit into just a few lines at the bottom of the final page.
If the history of Earth were written as a 1,000-page book, life itself wouldn't appear until page 185. And for over 700 pages, it would be nothing but simple, quiet cells, invisible to the naked eye, yet patiently shaping the world. Then suddenly, between pages 878 and 880, life explodes into color, movement, and complexity. The rise of multicellular beings. By page 916, a few brave creatures leave the oceans behind and step onto land. But this story is not a peaceful one. Across these pages, Earth has suffered 5 great extinctions, violent chapters that nearly closed the book entirely. One of them, just 250 million years ago, erased 96% of all marine life and 70% of species on land. The planet fell into silence. And yet, Earth endured. It took 10 million years for life to return. Slowly, the dance of evolution began again, full of wonder and tragedy.
Every minute, he brings 250 lives into the world and leaves behind 4,000 tons of waste. Every day, he manufactures 240,000 cars, while silently wiping out 400 species of life. Every year, he abandons nearly 9 million children before they reach the age of 5 and strips 13 million hectares of forest from the earth. He chooses belief over understanding. He clings to the idea of being instead of truly becoming. He prefers the image of the desert to the desert itself. He calls himself ruler of all things, yet cannot even govern his own instincts. Of all species to walk this earth, he is the only one with the power to destroy his world and the blindness to do it anyway.